computer, and we are recording. Hey, welcome. This is our post wrap up great debate EdTech debate. I'm Dean. Sherrie, how are you
I'm
doing? Oh, yeah, you're Sherrie. Good. We thought we'd do something a little bit different for our blog and create a vlog. And we just thought we would, while things are fresh in our mind, kind of have a little chit chat, a little chin wag, and see where we're at. So I'll ask you the first question, Sherrie, here that we've talked about. And so, back in the day when you got that list in Google Forms and it said openness and sharing in the classroom is unfair to our kids. How did you interpret that? What did you think that meant?
Well, at first I thought we were circling around the same topic as most of the other debates, and it went into unfair as in unsafe, perhaps, or the digital divide, things like that. But I was thinking that if I was on the disagree side, which I was, to say that it was fair, I was looking at breaking down those walls, those barriers, the transparency into my classroom so that parents and community could see what was going on that way. So I think I was thinking of it more of a community tool than I was anything greater. However, after having a conversation with you, I saw I could go somewhere else. So can you tell us about that?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to take a few of these ECI classes with Alec, and I think it was 831, might have been 832. We talked about open education and the practices of that, and we had a guest speaker come in, Dr. Verena Roberts, and she really her talk really resonated with me. So when I saw the question, I started thinking about, where can we take education? How can we, leverage um, the tools that we have available to us and the relationships that we have to do more than just traditional ways of doing that, and how do we share that, get the ideas out, and we can build upon it, those ideas, rather than just keep them closed within. So I didn't, when I first looked at it, I wasn't thinking just a permission slip thing per se. But then when we talk about it more, there is a lot of permission with the openness and stuff. So I really liked our conversation, and kind of led to me to think, yeah, okay, we need to build some parameters about there, get some permissions, because even in an open and sharing thing, there's some dangers out there, and we have to be aware of those. But the benefits way out, they outweigh the negatives way, so much that I think we have to promote this and keep doing it. So yeah, that other class really put that into my head. So then when you and I were
Mhm.
talking, I started to bring that up into the equation, because um, I think it's a really important subject to debate, and I think people need to understand what it is a little bit more. And as you were talking about earlier, something a lot of us are already doing, so that
Yes.
that was kind of.
I enjoyed that it took a different perspective and could add a little more dimension to the topic. So I was really, well, for me, it was brand new to hear those things, but then also to find out that, yes, I had been doing open education, but in my own way, maybe not through social media, but through just an extended version of audience and sharing. So yeah, it was definitely a wonderful learning experience.
Yeah.
So how did you do your research, Dean?
Well, I got a little bit of a later start because I also did the other uh, one on social media, Green Childhood, which I think ties into a lot to what we were trying to accomplish too, because I think social media can really provide some amazing opportunities for kids, just like openness and sharing in the classroom too. But I read some articles, I went back and saw some blogs, but the key part for me was tapping into my professional learning network. And it's kind of the key thing with this. I know we've talked in the past about using Twitter and developing things and that. And because of the previous class, when we had Dr. Roberts talk to us, I reached out to her, and she's a very important part of my professional learning community, and I follow her a lot. She has a lot of great things to share. So I knew that when we were going to talk about this, to kind of refresh and get a perspective and to get us all on the same page, reaching out to her would be a good idea. And so it was. And And you can read articles and books, but to have that conversation with Dr. Roberts, and just to get that perspective and those examples she gave, like the ninjas, the carrying ninjas that she shared, and just things that I probably would never have thought about, and that you can't glean from an article sometimes. Even just her enthusiasm and her passion really got me going on that. So definitely her interview, which we put the whole interview into our Wakelet for anybody that wants to see it. We had the clip inside of our intro. I also put up on our Wakelet too her doctorate dissertation, and you can see it's
Mhm.
like a 300-page document that there's lots of really great examples in there. She had like rubrics in there, and she had the learning cycle that appears in open learning. She had the continuum, like how do you start from like you can even do this with kindergarten and then to like grade 4. I think she had, and that you can have that kind of in a walled community and protect the kids a little bit more when they're younger, and then
Mhm.
start to branch out when they're in like grade 4 to 8, and then by the time they're in high school they already understand the concept of openness and sharing. Then they can take it to a whole level that uh, that's never been done before, get them to solve those wicked problems, like we were mentioning in our debate a little bit, rather than just some of the traditional ways of doing it. So definitely the Dr. Roberts interview was the highlight for my research when we did this. How about yourself? You had an interesting experience.
Well, yeah, I want to thank you for introducing me to Dr. Roberts because before last Thursday, I didn't know who she was. And so I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, you pitched the idea, and I started doing some research and reading her tweets and trying to get a handle on what was going on. And it was such impressive work. And I feel honored to have had an hour of her time to get to know more about what she believes in and stands for. And I really admire the work that she's promoting, and I'd like to see it grow in my own community as well. So my research, well, prior to that interview, I had been inspired by your idea to do a rant, and so I had to come up with
I got the
what
inspiration
would be,
from Rick Mercer, so I can't take credit for
yeah, yes.
it.
But the fact that you could do that in debate, that got me. So anyway, I was trying to figure out what could I get heated up about that I could rant on. And then I started to think about, you know, there's a lot of things that come across my desk as an administrator, and lots of times it's the forms I have to deal with. And it seems like sometimes those things can be roadblocks to this open learning idea. But you know what? They don't have to be. If handled correctly, and if teachers are taking the time to, um, find out what they need and who has the permissions, and making sure that their students are informed members about and a part of the decision making, and have a good digital citizenship. I think all of that is really important. So it wasn't hard to get revved up about that.
Yeah.
But I started really looking at other people's blogs from this class or classes before, to be honest with you, because at first I went, openness and sharing in schools, what is it? And I actually stumbled across, I believe it was Catherine Reddy's response, one of her blogs. And then that one got me into a link to another one, to another one. I was down so many rabbit holes. And because I'm new to this community, I can't even, I'm sure if I had done it on my phone, I would be able to do the timer of how much time I spent. But I learned so much about so much about so much, and I needed to have a lot of experience or more time with the common sense media. That's, for some people this is common sense, but for people like me who have been maybe avoiding the social media world, like really, I feel like I missed the 10-year prerequisite to this course just in my life. But I was, raising kids, and I have to say I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder about that. And I'm being enlightened every day that I'm here.
Yeah.
So yeah, my research was all over the place. And then it started to settle in on an Australian blogger who I liked what she was saying, Kathleen Morris. And then I moved over into doing more work with Marina after I heard about her. And I stumbled across some of her work, which was really inspiring. So yeah, it was a very educational experience.
Well, everything I think that both of us saying as you're talking to, it just like it's almost like a hammer over my head. is that this whole thing that we're doing is open and sharing. Like how if people wouldn't have shared their stuff on their blog and been open about their research, we would have been at a loss. We wouldn't have been able to get the insights and things that we needed and to grow our own knowledge. If we didn't have PLN and make connections and get a hold
Yeah.
of Dr. Roberts, again, and what did Dr. Roberts like? She embodies openness and sharing, and she doesn't just
Exactly.
write about it. She also practices what she preaches. I think
Yeah.
she's an excellent role model for that for sure. So yeah, it's interesting just talking and then hearing what you're saying is really
Mhm.
like saying like we're proving our own point. If we needed
We
any
are.
more
No,
we need any
for
more
sure.
evidence or research, like just our conversation here is pretty open and sharing
It
itself
is.
too. And
And
hopefully who's ever
Alton,
listening to this is getting something out of it as well.
that's right. So Alton and Melinda, they were talking about, the dangers of, or the entrapment of plagiarism. And I have to tell you, at times I was feeling that myself. It was like, are these my thoughts? Are these my words? But they were thoughts I agreed with. And it was like, well, this was a good soundbite, and this was a good soundbite. So I realized you can give credit to all those people that do help you frame your opinion, and that's what it is. Our opinions need to have evidence and they need to be framed. But yeah, I could see what they were saying. They had a very solid debate as well. What was your biggest takeaway from the pro team?
Well, there's a couple things. Like I thought they did a really really great job, and I really is it was a worthy debate for sure. And I thought that they mentioned the digital divide because it's something I struggle with quite a bit. And I mean, you know, I see a lot of kids in my school that might not have the best things going on at home, but they have a cell phone, right? And I know at school we try a lot to make sure students have access to devices to do their work and that kind of stuff, but it still exists. And I really appreciate them, making me think of that more because a lot of times when I jump into things, I'm like, okay, we could do this and we can connect to this and that. And it's really important to understand that there might be a few students that can't. So how do you do that? And that's what I think Dr. Roberts, again, bring up her, and I was going to bring this up later, but it actually works well, is that it doesn't always have to be digital to be open and sharing. You can do a lot of other activities to build the relationship with the kids and get them to do a learning project that is open, but they don't need the technology per se, and they can get the help that they need. So I thought that was really interesting. And then uh, one thing that really hit me personally, because when we were talking about sharing and teachers sharing, uh, that's something I do quite a bit online. And I was going to jump in when we were talking, but other people were having a good conversation there, so I kind of kept it a little bit to myself. That's why I'm happy we do this in our vlog here. But uh, like I always come to the thing like I make sure the kids have signed off on things, but I still ask the kids when I take a picture, "Are you guys okay with this?" Every picture that I take, I try to take it from behind, and so I just get the back of their heads and their computer screen so you can see what they're working on. Whether it's
Mhm.
or sometimes I love using mini whiteboards. Talk about not, and I'll take a picture of their mini whiteboard, have them working on a math question or something like that, or a lab that we're doing and those type of things. So, uh, I like to do it because I like to share what we're doing in the classroom. I might give other teachers ideas because Twitter for me has been the best professional development I've had in my teaching career, and it's all ongoing, and it's just evolved, and I see so many cool things, and I got so many ideas. So I'm trying to give back to that. I'm also trying to show the community basically. Here's what we're doing in our class. We're so excited. Look at these kids learning. Uh, we're engaging in different learning activities, and we're that. So um, I it's really interesting. Like when she said, you know, the administrator that she mentioned said, um, "Don't worry, nobody will see it anyways." And also, I think Melinda also mentioned, you know, uh, it's for to brag about to other schools or something like that.
Oh, I
And
know.
yeah, and those things really hit home for me because I don't know. I like to promote my school, but not at the expense of other schools. I am really proud of the school that we're in, and I even run the social media for Twitter, and another guy runs the Instagram account at our school, and we're always trying to share information, what's going on at the school and stuff. But it does make me think, like, are you oversharing? Is it too much information? So I really appreciated Melinda's points about that. I think I will continue to share, but be careful, just keep that at the back of my mind. It's always good to have that perspective. And that's what I've liked about these debates. In a lot of ways, they've challenged me. And I might not have changed my view to say it's unfair, but I have changed my view to just kind of give it a little second sober thought, so to speak.
Yeah, you
How about
bet.
yourself? What did you gain? What was kind of your highlights from her worthy opposition?
You know what? I loved their calm and rational approach to their debate. It was so serene. It felt like they were informing us of things that we really needed to know. It was not a scare tactic, which I appreciated. It was just more like a real conversation that we were having, and it did feel like at times our conversation was merging together. And so they were expressing a little bit more so what those dangers were, but never really negating the fact that there were pros as well. But I just really did appreciate their approach to it, and I thought that as with all of these debates, we seem to find a middle ground, and I think that's what they were able to do for us, or all of us, in taking this class. I guess I also really appreciated their take on the vulnerability of people from other countries, right? The language barrier that they experience. And I didn't mean to be dismissive when, I mean, lots of people dismiss the consent forms, but it has got to be a very daunting experience to be forced with a written language that you don't understand. And the vulnerability there stuck with me, and it hit home because we talked about vulnerability with Dr. Roberts as well. But the vulnerability it means that we need, because we have to be risk takers. But I mean, we were avoiding words like risk takers. We didn't want to use that word in a debate.
Yeah.
We didn't want to use the word vulnerability in a debate because that's not where you use it. But that was a word that came up in our conversation, and you have to be vulnerable also in an open education environment, because you have to be able to let the control go to your students. You can't, it's hard for control freaks,
Yeah.
which a lot of educators can be. And but you have to be a part of a team.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, you have to be the compass. And I thought that Alton and Melinda um, really stated how they were the compass, that as educators, they had to keep all those things in mind in order to do this appropriately, which I believe we were saying the same thing, but we were saying it more like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we were disagreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that because I agree with you. They really they really brought their presentation together, and they had lots of great research and lots of really good points. And uh,
Mhm.
even inside of the the scrum that we had after the rebuttals, a lot of the points that they were making were being brought up again. So they definitely hit home with a lot of our classmates too, in my opinion. Um, was there anything else that struck you about either the debate or the research or something that like another takeaway from this?
Well, every week I learn more and more. And today I learned the word sharenting instead of
That down too.
parenting. Is that how that
Yeah,
goes?
yeah, I think so. I don't know
I
if that's
had,
a play off your name, but
I hadn't heard that one, but I thought, you know, that was a good take. And I mean, we had to kind of attack that in our debate, but man, it is a partnership between education and parents. And then when Alec was talking about having to respect parents' opinions, they and their beliefs, right? And that's what we are as parents. We do share our beliefs. And I really hadn't thought about that. That really struck me. Like we said, we share our beliefs about religion with our kids. And so we share our beliefs about social media with our kids, and we share our beliefs about everything inadvertently sometimes, and because it's a part of who we are. And the fact that, yeah, we need to let our kids be a part of that decision, but there are some things that just are a part of our parenting sharing.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
actually, the counter off of that for me would have been Dr. Roberts in our little post scrum, kind of saying the counter to that, which was pretty interesting, that kids also need to have these open and sharing opportunities so they can discover out what they think about themselves and get their self identity. Because obviously parents are a huge influence in that, but you know, it gave some kids that might not necessarily have that opportunity to express who they are or figure out who they are. Uh, that's pretty powerful too, because sometimes as parents we get a little overbearing, or we see the world in our view, and we forget that our kids have opinions and things too. So I think
Kids
that
need
was a really good
advocates
point.
and allies, and you're right. Dr. Roberts said that that's what open education can help being, and lots of times that's who teachers end up being, is that advocate, that ally.
Yeah, and I
So
also liked from the thing too with Dr. Roberts too. I keep going back to her a lot because that's the impact that she has on me. But I like the fact that like learning can be, you can solve problems with learning. You can like learning, this isn't some, like in our interview she gave the example about the student that went to Ecuador and built house. I think it was Ecuador, to build houses, some country
yep.
too, and how he struggled so mightily with an open concept because he was so used to playing school and he wanted his mark and he's saying, is this good enough? But I really appreciate, and we've talked about this too, it really takes the teacher to have a different role, and you got to open up. And that's one thing they could have used against us, actually, is that we've talked about the plan A, B, C, and D, and you really, as an educator, you just can't be, you can't just open up your lesson and say, here, write these notes down, do this test, okay, I'm out of here. Like, you really have to be a lot more on the ball, which is interesting. So I really like the fact that you could take with open and sharing, you could do some really powerful things, not only for your learning, but for your fellow human being. And I think that's what our society needs more, is we need more people helping each other out and show that
Mhm.
we got each other's back. And the open and sharing does that. The traditional ways, there's a ceiling in that, and
You
only,
know,
it's only guided towards a few people. Sorry.
no, no. I was say, do you know who's been instrumental in open and sharing this week? You have, Dean, because this week, because of you, I have done my first YouTube video. I've learned about my first Wakelet. I've done my first use of Google Drive, and I can't thank you enough. And oh, and Zoom. I never did these private Zoom meetings. I have learned more in this week than all of the weeks combined, and I feel myself. I don't know. This might be the climax of this course. I don't know, but anyways, I want to thank you for that, because it's been a heck of a ride, and I've enjoyed building our network and our friendship.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm hoping that you're part of my personal learning network. If you're ever in town, let me know. And, we'll go for a beer or something.
I do
But
think now our
or I know we have a
business.
common friend. We can call her up too, and we can
Yeah.
talk to her. Uh, but yeah, no, this whole process about even what we're doing, like the fact that we were able, you're in Moosomin and I'm over here in Regina, and the fact that we were Mooseman, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's actually as I yeah. I've actually driven past Mooseman a few times on my way to Manitoba, so I know exactly where it is. But the fact that we were even able to do this project together, and even a video project, like a lot of people wouldn't think that, how do you do a video project if there's two people in two different places? But even the way I kind of did a few things in WeVideo, and then you had your expertise in Adobe Premiere, and you took the footage and you put it together and all that, and our research and our chats, and we even went on Slack and had a couple of Slack calls and
That
stuff.
was
Not,
new too.
pardon
Yeah.
me?
That was new for me too.
Well, that's one of the things I've grown on. I've used Slack in other classes and stuff too, but by far this one I've used Slack more than I ever have, and that, and yeah, it's really cool. I've really got a lot out of that too. So yeah, just definitely I would say that um, what we're doing here, like we talked about our research, but even their project in the video, and even what we're doing now, is another example of open and sharing learning and the benefits of it. Because I know, because of I was had some dumb luck and just volunteered to be your partner, and it's been definitely a great experience for me. And these whole debates
Mm.
have been great, and yeah, I guess that's why he calls it the Great Ethic Debate.
Well, that's exactly right. But no, right from the moment we started storyboarding, it seemed to just take on a life of its own. And
Yeah,
yeah, your idea to do the, like you said, what about you pitched a Rick Mercer rant right off the hop,
yeah,
and it was like, yeah, no, that would
that
work.
could
And
work.
then when I saw your debate the week prior, and you were in that tie and walked in the TV host world, it just seemed that
There's my
those
tie.
that it just seemed that those two things were going to fit together very well. And
Yeah,
then you're right, like Ringer with Dr. Roberts, that was,
yeah.
I was so funny to read the chat as that was happening.
Yeah, it lit it up a little bit, but yeah, and for me, it's been great to work with another communication media teacher because I don't always get that. I don't always get that good fortune to do that too, because the editing and all that kind of stuff, that's a labor of love too. And the fact that you took time to tweak it and do a little couple things, I understand those little things can take a little time, and you want to just get it super right, and you're spending like, I don't know, you're spending like an hour trying to just get that super cut going or something, or trying to figure out how to scroll or whatever. And then you lose yourself in your learning, and you're like, your family's
Oh,
probably asking, "What are you doing?"
I know, you know what? It was a labor of love, and what a creative outlet, because I spend so much time watching other people do it and helping other people do it, and giving advice or learning things that I never get a chance to play. And so I really appreciate that. It was probably like a bit of a chance for you to pass some of that off. But I thought, my gosh, you've already done a debate. You probably don't need to do two
Yeah.
two big edits, but all of your stuff that you sent was just perfect to blend right in. So yeah, I really enjoyed this
Yeah.
project.
Well, like I said, if your kids, like if I was teaching com media again, I would use this as an example how people can collaborate and even in different places come together and make something pretty that I thought looked pro. Like I really like the quality of the video. I thought was excellent, but I thought the content was even better. So
The content
yeah,
was, and it's easier to go ranting around in the countryside and not look like a loon than
yeah,
probably on a city street. But
yeah. I have a little
my
park that I did one once and walked around. But
my
no,
my daughter, we were going to do it in our backyard. We have we live on the outskirts of town, so we just like a ridge of trees along the backyard. And I started there, and my daughter said, "Yeah, we should like maybe go out of town. Yeah, let's find like a dirt road." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, we
yeah.
can do that."
Oh,
So
but then, as you told me too, you start to use some of your com media learning, and like, oh, where's the sun? And oh, I gotta maybe, have some
get a
continuity here.
comment, and
Am I getting washed out? And rule of
I
it
know.
was that was a tough shot to take too. I can imagine you and your husband walking down the road for sure.
It
Should have
was.
got your daughter or somebody to take a couple of pictures of you guys. We
I
could do
know. Well,
that
at
too.
one point we considered actually having somebody drive the truck, like
Yeah,
Curtis,
yeah,
my husband, drove the truck, and the other one in the back, and then I walked towards it, but they
yeah.
couldn't get rid of the noise of the truck
Oh,
because
that's right too.
so like, oh no,
Yeah,
we want to
yeah,
hear the footsteps. Anyway, it worked, and I had
yeah.
to just
That would
look
have been
like I was,
quite the dolly, a truck.
yeah, just looked like I was looking down at the ticker tape every once in a while
Yeah.
as I was looking at my screen. But
Oh,
anyway, it was a lot of fun. I really appreciate working with you and the learning that has come from this project in this class. And yeah, hats off to Alton and Melinda as well, because it was a solid week of learning.
yeah, agreed. Awesome. Well, I think I can speak for both of us. That concludes our vlog. Hope you learned something from our conversation. I know I had a lot of fun just having our conversation. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, no, this has been a great learning experience, and I think definitely open and sharing is what this was all about for sure as well.
Yes, and check out the extended rant on our Wakelet and the transcript of the rant with connections to our research in our blog to follow. Have a good night.
Awesome. Take care. Okay, and